Welcome to Haken, an Animal Crossing podcast, your podcast dedicated to all things Animal Crossing. This episode is brought to you by Cake, one of our newest Patreon patrons. Today, Sergio and I will be talking about Nintendo reconfirming Animal Crossing Switch for 2019 and games we can play while waiting for Animal Crossing. So to begin, hello Sergio, how are you doing?
Hello Chewy, I'm doing quite well. It's been a busy but a fun weekend. What about yourself?
I've been doing well. It's been I guess not busy per se, but I've just been having fun. Yeah, so
Nice.
yeah, it hasn't been too bad. I've been playing a lot of a game that we're going to talk about a little bit later. And then outside of that, also revisiting Splatoon a bit. And, we had the movie night just this past weekend.
Oh yes, that was amazing.
Yeah, so it's been... I guess a lot of people wanted to watch the subbed version, but I was like, man, I'm missing a lot by looking at chat, trying to read what they're saying. I think, I don't know. I know a lot of people with anime, they're against watching the dubs and everything. And I'm like, the situation I feel like I might prefer doing the dub.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. But I did like the fact that we had the dub one before and now we went subbed, and you can kind of tell some interesting differences that I hadn't noticed, like some of the name changes, and the fact that KK Slider doesn't have a voice in this one; it's just his regular in-game voice. But man, I really like that movie every time. It brings me to tears, and I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's always a fun one to watch, and I'm glad we kicked off the movie nights with that. And hopefully every month we'll be doing this, and hopefully every month people will have fun, watching a movie with us. So yeah. So let's get into the show. We have some big news, and it's that Nintendo has reconfirmed Animal Crossing for 2019.
Yes.
And we've both had this discussion before where we're starting to get a little bit worried,
Right.
Is this game going to get delayed? Are we really going to see it in 2019? Or is this are we just looking at 2020 at this point? And I guess just before we get into some of this, how are you feeling now? Are you jumping back and forth? Do you feel it's going to get delayed, or are you feeling like it's going to happen this year?
I think it's most likely going to happen this year, but I remember in your previous Friday video you mentioned, in making a very good point that Yoshi's Crafted World and Fire Emblem were also quote-unquote confirmed for 2018, which was last year. And one of those barely came out about a month ago, and Fire Emblem still isn't out. So, there's always the possibility. But I'm more on the 2019 side of the fence.
Okay. Yeah, and I always like to put that little warning there because I've lived the life of an Animal Crossing fan. I know what it's like to be we saw one trailer at some E3 or a while ago, and then the next E3 rolls around and we got nothing. And this was New Leaf,
Yes.
And so I always have to put that out there and be like, you guys, we got to be careful. It could still get snatched up from under us, and that would be a shame, but hopefully it would just lead to a better overall game, a better overall experience for us when we actually get to play.
Yes, correct.
So let's get into this reconfirmation. So Nintendo typically holds an investor meeting quarterly, and their year goes from April 1st to March 31st. I think that goes to 31,
Yes.
right? Mm-hmm. So their year goes through those days. And this last meeting happened to be the big one where they were going over their whole year of sales and everything. Mm-hmm. But what typically happens with this big one is they put out a list of the upcoming games, at least the ones they've already announced, because they don't usually put out a game that we haven't heard about at all, unless it's a mobile game, actually.
Ah, yes, good point.
So mobile games tend to get announced at these things, mm-hmm. but not like Switch games, not 3DS games. And, funny enough, they didn't mention any 3DS games. Yes. I think we're at that point where the 3DS is done for,
yeah,
which is sad because I love the console so much, but happy because I'm just hoping that means there's more development time being put into the Switch, because it's the best of both worlds. It's handheld, it's the TV, it's everything in one unit. So yeah. And regardless, they put this list out, and they did list Animal Crossing Switch, and it's still coming in 2019. And another thing I want to point out, when they did their investor meeting back in February, which was just their third quarter meeting, they did say investors were worried. They came in worried because they'd just announced that Metroid Prime 4 had restarted development. They scrapped it. They're saying, you know what? This game is not what we wanted it to be. Let's just start over. And so investors came in and they asked, should we be worried about the rest of your upcoming games? And, you know, Nintendo's in a weird spot here because, you know, obviously they don't want to say that there's a chance games will get delayed. But they also gave us like a really confident answer where they were like, look, making games is what we do. That's what we're known for. We're very good at it, so you don't have to worry about these upcoming games. They will come out in 2019. And so that in itself is like a bit of relief. That's telling us, okay, they said Animal Crossing 2019. They must mean Animal Crossing 2019. But, you know, like at the same time, like you want to tell your investors what they want to hear. You don't want them to be pulling out, lowering your stock price and everything. But I feel like Nintendo they're good. They're good at making games. And they've been really impressive with the Switch thus far. For example, when they announced Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was coming out at the end of the year 2017, nobody thought that was going to happen. Everybody thought that was the game to get delayed. Like, there was no way that they would be able to get this game to us. But they did it. They put out this really huge JRPG, which, you know, it takes like 90 plus hours to play through and beat. But yeah, and so the only games that have really gotten delayed happen to be the ones that are coming out this year. Right. Which one has come out, like you said, Yoshi, and then Fire Emblem is still on the way. And then I guess, you know, Metroid got delayed technically, but since we didn't really have a date for that game, I'm just going to say, nah, it wasn't really delayed. It's just always been in development. Like, we never got a date.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, we're at that point where Animal Crossing has a date, and if it gets delayed, that would be a true delay to me because they said 2019, and if it goes beyond that, then yeah, the game's delayed. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. What are you thinking about this?
Yeah, it's true. And you know what? I believe I'm correct in saying that this is going to be the first fiscal year with the new Nintendo president in charge, basically for the whole year. I believe he took over last year, so now this is his year to, you know, add more to that confidence of saying, yes, I know all of these games are coming out this year. You know, I'm heavily involved in the timing and the planning of this, so yes, I can tell you these games are in 2019, and that I think that would add a little bit to the confidence and to our hope that 2019 is really gonna be the year. Who knows why we have been waiting? Maybe we'll find out when they reveal it, but this should be the year.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this a little bit later because I have a feeling I know why they've been waiting to show us everything. And why we heard about this game so early. But yeah, this new president has been doing some interesting things, at least saying some interesting things that have, you know, caught people by surprise. But I think they took over July, sometime in the summer last year. So yeah, this is their first full year, and I'm interested to see how it goes. It's a very young president, especially by like Japanese standards. But yeah, I noticed you made a little note here about this release.
Yes, because Nintendo put out an image with basically the logos of the remaining games for 2019. And most of all the logos we have seen, a couple of them got some cosmetic changes like colors, but I thought it was very interesting that the Animal Crossing one, you know, it just says welcome to Animal Crossing, like we saw it on that trailer, and then it said 2019. But this time they added a little bit of text to it at the bottom, and it says latest in the series. So it's very strange to me because, okay, if they want to call it that, that's fine. But if you look at the list of upcoming games for 2019, the list that they actually published to their investors, they only call it Animal Crossing for Nintendo Switch, and it says temporary. So the names don't match. I'm a little curious as to why they're tagging it latest in the series when technically right now that one is New Leaf. If you know, at least if we're going by the mainline ones. I'm just curious as to why they did that and only for that game. But we do have some confidence because the very first time when they showed Animal Crossing Switch, Nintendo put out a tweet and it said, quote, a new mainline game in the Animal Crossing series is coming in 2019. So it's very unlikely that it's going to be just a rehash. No, I'm sorry, not a rehash. A remastering of New Leaf.
And it's funny, I was also going to mention that, like, the only thing they've said about Animal Crossing outside of that Tom Nook tweet that we all freaked out over was literally the moment after they announced Animal Crossing, they said it's going to be a new mainline game. And it's funny, like, the emphasis Nintendo is putting on this. I think they do have something planned. I think they're going to be showing something for sure. So we're getting closer, and we're moving by every day, and we're getting closer. But the interesting thing to me is that they're putting such an emphasis on it being a new game in the main series, and you know, they're very sneaky with their titles. I think a lot of us get attached to our Animal Crossing titles because they've done a good job. Like, they tend to just be like a couple words, but those words mean so much, which is always fun. But I guess the thing that is, I want to, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. So it's going to be the newest in the series. I keep saying that. And what I wanted to say is they've held back information so much with this game. And even going back to, I think it was 2016 when Pocket Camp was having their direct, they specifically said, we're only going to talk about Pocket Camp. There isn't going to be any other news. And all of us were just at this point where we're like, really? Why not? Like, isn't it supposed to happen, right? I think that was 2017, actually. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So 2016 is way too early. We didn't even see the Switch yet.
Right.
But yeah, so at that point, we're just like, wow, what is going on? I can't believe we're still not hearing anything about this game. And it's pretty crazy to me, like, how tight they're holding this information. Because even to this point, like, all we really know is that they're making it. We haven't seen it. We haven't heard anything about it. And they're just sticking in little tiny things in there, whether it's like latest in the series, and that's all we really have to look forward to. That's all we really know that's coming, is that we're going to have another game that we could spend thousands of hours on, you know?
Yeah. we were joking on the Discord earlier that maybe Nintendo has been releasing information, but the emails or the press releases or the tweets got stuck. And then they say, "Oh, we thought you guys knew. Yeah, the game is coming out in May." And there's all these videos and information. No, but that's mostly wishful thinking. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we find out why it's taking this silence.
Yeah, and I do want to point out, like, the latest directs, at least for the last year, all of 2018 into this year, every direct has kind of been focused on a season. If it wasn't focused on Smash, it was kind of focused on a season, where I know a lot of people are still hoping that this game is coming out in the summer. And I really think it's unlikely based on what we saw in the last direct, where literally every title they talked to, the latest date they put on anything was August, which is probably what they're thinking as their summer calendar. So I don't think the game's going to be out anytime before August. I think, let alone with like Super Mario Maker in June and Fire Emblem in July and the other AC game, Astral Chain, coming out in August. Those three are probably going to be our summer titles. So Yeah, and then like Mario Maker, that's another game where you can literally spend endless amounts of time
Yes.
making levels and playing levels. There's like an infinite amount of content that's going to come out of that game. So yeah, I just feel like Nintendo has that schedule plotted out, and I don't think we're going to be seeing the game until later in the year. And I also always say, like, Animal Crossing is a huge seller. Like, if they want to move units and they want to sell the console, especially to like kids and get parents to buy them, like that's going to be a holiday season type of thing.
Yes.
Because Animal Crossing hits that demographic hard. So
Right. And there's always some type of rumor about a Switch revision. The latest ones that we're hearing now is that it's only going to be one revision, and it's going to be, I want to say like a Switch Lite that is mostly emphasized on handheld, and it's going to be probably cheaper price than the current model. That would be a nice tie to Animal Crossing. You could maybe do a bunch of bundles for that.
yeah, especially like, maybe they are aware that a lot of people who want or like Animal Crossing don't have a Switch quite yet. And they did kind of their focus with Pocket Camp was introducing the game to mobile gamers,
Yes.
people who are more handheld driven, more, kind of at a lower price point.
Yes.
So lowering that price point with like a kind of just smaller version of the Switch, that could do it. That could get more people, more sales, and yeah, just general interest would be there for Animal Crossing, especially.
And that could actually be part of the explanation for the delay and the lack of info. They just wanted both of those out at the same time.
Yeah, that could be it. I mean, I still don't know if it's happening.
Right.
Every time these rumors have popped up, the Nintendo has stepped in and shot them down.
Right.
Like, I remember a couple months ago, they started popping up, and Nintendo showed up and said, no, we're not doing that. And there are no revisions in talks. And now they're like, we're always internally working on
Right.
something. Those were their words this time around, but they still said, we're not announcing them at E3.
Right.
That's not what's going to happen. And, Nintendo does usually, especially lately, like, they are doing the Twitter thing. They're just going on Twitter, posting news. Like, we literally got the release date for Super Mario Maker 2, probably what's going to be their biggest game this
Yes.
summer. And that was just a tweet.
Yeah.
It was a tweet that they put out. So I think I feel like the 2DSs were announced that way, too.
That's right. The 2DS and maybe I know for sure the 2DS XL.
Yeah, it must have the new 2DS XL, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was just like, that was tweeted out. Like, nobody, just a random day, and everybody was like, oh, okay, that's an interesting decision. But that console essentially serves the same purpose. Like, the new 3DS XL is a $200 unit. And to bring the price point down, they had to introduce something else. And that could have been with the intention of going like, we can't have a 3DS unit that costs as much as the Switch out on the market.
Yeah.
And so there aren't any more 3DS units out there. I guess there's the 3DS XL, but those are running out. Like, they're not going to be around for a long time.
Yes.
So yeah, it seems like Nintendo's just prepping their market because they own the handheld market. Nobody else does it right now. Sony pulled out, and Microsoft, they can't make anything smaller than a VCR. So so it's their market, And
Yes, for sure.
I think they're very careful around that. I mean, the 3DS carried them through the Wii U era.
Yes.
They were crawling on their knees through that point, but the 3DS made them the money to get here. But yeah, so I think it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be I'm expecting it at this point just because like Nintendo tends to do revisions for their hardware, especially like the handheld hardware. because it needs to improve to an extent to be a little bit more travel friendly.
Yes.
I know I've already gotten my Switch repaired. I've talked about it before. And I've traveled a lot with it. And I'm going to travel this upcoming weekend with it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm excited because I have a fun game to play on my way there. So I guess before we get onto this next segment, I did want to ask you a couple questions. I think I opened with this one. Do you think Animal Crossing Switch will be shown at E3? We have to do this weekly check-in now because, we're emotional creatures. Our mindset is going to change back and forth, and that's, because we're human.
Yes.
So yeah, I think every week we'll check in and see, is it coming at E3?
Yes, and right now I think so, and yes, even more so than last week or pretty much than ever before, simply because of the reconfirmation that we got.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you again, and I think even more, even after what you just said, where they're saying Animal Crossing latest in the series, I feel like they're just prepping us. Like they know it's a big deal for their fans, so... and then the other reason is because I can only be wrong about Animal Crossing being shown at E3 so many years before it actually happens. And I've been wrong for years now.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess not too much. Like after 2015, I was like, okay, 2016, it's not going to be Animal Crossing. 2017, I was like, first year of the Switch, they've already got Zelda and Mario on the way. Like, that's huge. It's not going to be that year. And then 2018, I was like, yes. and then we know what happened.
Right.
But yeah, now 2019, this is it. This has to be it. And
sure.
If it's not, it's delayed for sure. My next question is, do you think Animal Crossing Switch will get the Smash treatment at E3?
I don't think so, and the reason for that is because they have a lot of games that they need to give more details on, especially because it's looking like there's probably not going to be a direct between now and then, so there's a lot of games to cover, a lot of details and releases and release dates to confirm, so I think Animal Crossing is going to be part of it, but it's not going to be, I don't think any game is going to be like the main focus.
Yeah, and I'm kind of falling down that same kind of mindset where I don't think it's going to get the Smash treatment, and it's very I think there was some surprising negative feedback when Nintendo focused on Smash as long as they did last year for their presentation, because it was like 25 minutes of announcements and then 20 minutes of Smash, so heavily, leaning towards Smash. And then a lot of people just felt like there weren't enough announcements during that E3. Yes. They were kind of let down. I mean, Smash is supposed to be this big game with wide appeal, and still people were like, outside of the Smash community, we're just like, okay, well, what else? Nintendo, is Smash it? And I guess Mario Party, Super Mario Party. So yeah, it just seemed like a weird show where you have this big game, clearly a heavy hitter for Nintendo, and still got a negative reaction for getting it displayed as long as it did. So I think they're going to avoid that. I think they're going to avoid focusing that much time to any single game. And it's exactly for that reason. Like you said, there are so many games that Nintendo has to talk about. So, I mean, so here's the list. They're going to spend some time on Super Mario Maker just because we have not seen anything really presented about it outside of the trailer. And so E3, I'm sure we're going to see some more because it comes out later that month. Link's Awakening is a big one that we haven't seen since the trailer. Luigi's Mansion 3 also haven't seen since the trailer. Pokemon Sword and Shield, that might get some time on there, but I guess I'm at the point where I typically expect Pokemon Company to do their own direct the week before E3.
Right, exactly.
So Pokemon, I can see it being there, just like Pokemon Let's Go was there.
Yes.
But yeah, still, I expect some time on it. And then, of course, AC, Astral Chain, coming out in August. I'm just kidding. But Animal Crossing, right? So, we have 5 huge franchises that exist. Mario, Zelda. I mean, Mario and Zelda, that's year one all over again. That is huge. I don't know why people aren't like talking about this as much, but like
Right.
those are the games to think about when you're thinking Nintendo. So Mario, Zelda, Luigi, that's another Mario game essentially. Pokemon, like that's the other heavy hitter right there. And then Animal Crossing, which nobody knows is a heavy hitter, but it is the heaviest hitter of all.
Yes.
Ask Isabel if you don't believe me. But yeah, that's 5 huge franchises that are going to be represented at this show. So I don't think people could be disappointed at that. I think that's just going to be like, wow, here are some cool things to see from games that are going to exist this year.
Yes, exactly. And they always tend to keep like a couple of neat little games as surprises. We might even get like it's out now type of thing. And you know, they have to show those too and showcase them on the Treehouse, which takes place a few days after the main event. So there's so much content, and gladly Animal Crossing is gonna be part of it.
Yeah, I'm very ready for it. I did want to, you know, that image you were talking about where Animal Crossing was now had this title where it's, you know, latest in the series.
Yes.
I will point out that right next to that image, which I know it's a pretty image, so it's distracting, but the copy that they wrote here says, "As you can see, we will constantly release new titles during the fiscal year ahead, and there are still more titles that we haven't discussed yet. We intend to continue to expand the lineup of software that can be enjoyed by consumers around the world, and that will keep people playing Nintendo Switch." So right there, they're saying, like, there's more stuff on the way. There's more stuff that we haven't talked about, and you're going to hear about it soon. Because I think for the first time ever, it has been the quietest that it has ever been about retro studios. For a week, people were freaking out because there was Reggie got his own Twitter and he posted a picture that he got from Retro Studios. And there's a character that is unrecognized in that picture. All you see is really a hand of it because Reggie strategically placed a Mario trophy in front of it. So there's something on the way, and people have been quiet, more quiet than I've ever heard them about what Retro's up to. And that's probably the point where they want to be. They want to be at that point where, like, okay, everybody's forgotten about us. Well, here we are. So, yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for this E3. As I always am excited, but yeah, you're taking the day off with me, right?
Yes, definitely. And you're right. I think the silence, the lack of more info on what's going on, it's adding to the mystery. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be a mysterious day for sure. and I guess, you know, when we're closer to the date, I think we'll announce an official time for, you know, hanging out. I know people have suggested watching the presentation on Rabbit together.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I think that'd be pretty fun. And then afterwards, I'm sure if they do a Treehouse segment, I think we'll stay on Rabbit and all watch that together. And if as long as it's like an Animal Crossing one, whenever that's on, we'll watch it together. But we will do a live podcast, I'm sure, right after the show. So it'll be a little bonus episode for everyone because we'll probably do the regularly scheduled. I guess that one we should put out on Monday to do like final predictions for E3. So yeah, expect a double podcast week for all of your E3 news. We'll also see how right and wrong we are about things, which is always fun to do. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to this next segment because, of course, we're all waiting for Animal Crossing Switch. But here are the games that we're playing while waiting for Animal Crossing Switch. So I guess mine is pretty long. Should I start?
Yes, go ahead. I have a few questions for you on this one.
Okay, and hopefully I have answers because this game is huge. I am literally overwhelmed with how much there is in this game.
Oh, wow.
So I've been playing My Time at Portia. I know I've mentioned it to people. I've gotten the bulk of my playtime just this past weekend, so I still feel really new to the game. But I've just been hopping into voice chat with the Haken villagers, and we've all been playing together. And that alone is really fun, and it gets me really excited for Animal Crossing because we can all, like, maybe we're not playing together per se, like in each other's towns, but we can all just like be online chatting with each other while playing in our towns.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what we've been doing with My Time at Portia, because it doesn't really have multiplayer, but it is a single player game.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, this game is overwhelmingly stuffed with content. Like, there is way too much to do in this game, and that's kind of the problem I wanted to have, because I need that life sim game that is helping me wait for Animal Crossing. So I guess I want to talk about the performance things first, because I think a lot of people, when they are looking into this game, they're going to run into people talking about how the game performs on Switch, or other consoles, depending on what you're playing on.
Right.
But I think probably the bulk of people are playing it on Switch, I feel. And this game's existed on PC for a long time. So,
yes.
Real quickly, load times are long, and stuttering is kind of constant in the game. So when you turn on the game to play, I think you're looking at this like loading screen for almost 7 minutes.
Oh.
Just to get to like the point where you can say, okay, load my game.
Right.
So yeah, it takes a long time to get into this game and actually start playing. So usually what I'll do is I'll start the game, and while it's loading, I'll like brush my teeth or something. You can probably do like see how many sit-ups you can do in 7 minutes. Do something healthy, I think, with your life, because once you start playing this game, you're going to be there for a while, and you're going to kill your eyes. You're not going to take care of yourself. So while the game loads, do something healthy. That's my warning.
Nice.
Eat. I ate lunch in the time it took my game to load. So yeah, some things take a little bit longer to load than usual when you're walking in and out of areas, pressing the menu, like just to go into the menu, even sometimes like scrolling through the menu. I go a certain way just to avoid this one section of the menu that always like freezes for like a good 10 to 20 seconds. But and then, like, when you're running around, you'll notice some things, like, kind of stutter. Some things don't work as quickly as they could. For example, like, when I'm going into, like, a chest that I built with inventory stored in there, it'll take a little bit of time. I'll click A, and then the game kind of stops moving, and then I'm in the chest. Like, it takes a little while to get into things. So, also, the funny thing is, like, when I was playing this game the first time, I was playing it on stream, and my game crashed as I was ending my first day. So that's one thing. It's only happened to me that one time. But it was funny that I caught it on stream. But so there are some performance issues. That said, I mean, it's a really fun game, and there's so much going on that I don't notice it too much. Like, it does not negate my enjoyability of the game.
Okay.
Because it's addictive. Like, there's so much to do, and sure, you have to wait a long time before you get to do it, but once it's loaded, like, it keeps up. It keeps up well enough. You get used to the loading times. And the developers have been actively working on patching it and improving the performance and everything. So I think the game's improving. I think you'll see the game improve over time. But when you start to play it, like, it's very easy to not notice it just with how fun it is.
Okay. Cool. And I'm pretty sure it's safe to, if you have to go somewhere or it's time to go to bed or something, you can just put the game in sleep mode on your Switch if you don't plan to play something else, and you should be able to pick right back up without the long initial loading time. And does the game save automatically, or do you have to save when you want?
So it does autosave, but it only really saves at the end of the day when you go to bed, or when you reach 3 a.m., your character passes out, and then it takes you to the next day. So you can't stay up all night. You have to get some sleep. But there's no punishment for that. Like, if you hit 3 a.m. and you pass out, nothing happens. You don't lose any items. Because I'm used to, like, Stardew Valley, where it hits 2 a.m. and you're done for if you hit that point. Like, So there's no punishment for it, which is nice. So you can essentially play your whole day, 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. And yeah, and you'll just save at the end of that. But yeah, it auto saves every new day. But if you die or something, or like turn it off before that day is over, you will have to play that day from the very beginning.
Okay. And is it random how long each day takes, or is there like a set estimate of time for each day?
It's a set amount of time. From looking at the clock, it looks like every minute is a second. So, so let's see. 1 hour would be like 1 minute of gameplay. So 7 a.m. to 3 a.m., how many hours is that? Let's see, we've got 12 if we go to 7.
Right.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. So 12 plus 8. What
20, yes.
That? 20. So each day is 20 minutes.
Okay.
And that'll vary because when you open up a menu, the clock pauses.
Right.
So yeah, you can pause the game, the clock pauses, time stops, and yeah, so essentially your 20 minutes is typically longer for each day when you play. And you know what? You have to go into so many menus because there's so much to like learn and keep track of, and yeah, there's a lot to get into it. So as far as like the story goes, at least like the setup for the game, it is a life sim game. And the story is you end up at this place called Portia. You were invited by your dad. You inherited a workshop from him, and he's a no good dad. So he's not around. He's left. And so from there, it kind of just throws you in. Like, you are tasked to craft things. The main gameplay is based around crafting. So essentially it throws you into the fire. Your first goal is to build a bridge. And I got that and I was just like, what? I haven't built anything. You expect me to build a bridge? What is this? And it's as hard as it sounds. Like, it is not easy to build a bridge. You kind of have to build a lot of things and work your way up to that. And it was very clear that like their goal with having you build the bridge is to teach you all of the basic things that you can build. So the first things, for example, like you just kind of run around and scavenge and try to get a bunch of wood and stone so you can build an axe and a pickaxe. And then once you have that, you can start like chopping down trees and go mining. So those two things are going to give you a lot of stuff. Like, you need wood constantly because once you build like other tools, they need wood as fuel, for example.
Yes.
So every single thing in this game, and there are a lot of collectibles, but everything you collect has a purpose, and that is amazing to me. Like, there's so much that you have. But yeah, you have a house. You can upgrade your house. You can get more land. You can build more furniture. You can do so many things. Like, it's amazing. You can make radios for people. You take on jobs to build stuff for people. You can get farm animals and start raising things. You can start growing crops. You can go fishing. And that's just like the stuff I know about. Because there's also like relationship building. You can start talking to people and start building a relationship. You can romance people, get married. You can I can just go on and on about all the things you can do. But yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy the amount of content that they've stuffed into this game. Oh, and I forgot to mention, like, you can fight monsters. You can build weapons to fight monsters. You can build a bus. You can build, like, all these little cars and stuff. You really develop this place. It's all about just finding new things to build and then building them.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I know you had questions about this game, and hopefully I can answer some of them.
Yeah, no problem. So it sounds like a lot of these systems, like, fighting monsters or building different items, it sounds like they all develop. The longer you play, the more advanced things get. I'm wondering, though, if how much customization do you get? I know I was actually watching your stream when you first started playing, and it was very impressive how many options you had for your main character. But do you ever get that again? Other than an interior layout, can you customize maybe a building in the town, even the exterior color or anything?
I don't know about like doing a building in the town. I imagine there would be an option. Actually, I think there, like, if you expand enough, like, you'll straight up build another town.
Oh, wow.
Like that, I think, Sarah from, one of our Haken villagers, she's gotten to that point where she got, like, a quest to just, like, straight up build another big town.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know what extent that would reach to, but I do know, like, I've noticed when you build, say, a piece of furniture or something, there are, like, dyes in the game that'll allow you to recolor the furniture.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there, to an extent, like, there's also, like, wallpaper and things that you can get. There are a lot of different things that you can customize. And all of those have kind of like, if you do the pigment thing, you have that same color chooser that you saw in my stream when I'm choosing like my skin tone or I'm choosing my hair color. Like there's a lot of customization to the color in the game, which it's a very colorful game, which is pretty nice.
Yes.
But yeah, like you can expand your land and build more things and place them pretty much anywhere. So yeah, I guess in that sense, like as far as like decorating and stuff, there's for sure a lot of customization, and there's a lot of stuff to unlock too to build.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as you keep going, I'm sure there's just more and more.
Oh, for
Because
sure.
I've only seen like I zoom out on the map and I'm like, how have I not seen like even the whole map yet? Because everything is like so big.
Right. And I'm wondering though if any of these are like collections. Like I'm thinking, related to Animal Crossing, there's a certain amount of fish that you can get and bugs and even fossils. Is there anything like that in the game? Something that you're collecting and you kind of see how many of them you have out of the total collection?
I'm not actually sure. I don't think I've run into something like a sort of compendium of sorts that would keep track of everything. So I don't know. Sarah, once again, who's way further in the game than me, like she's finished a year of gameplay.
Oh, wow.
I guess I didn't mention this. There's, I guess, essentially 4 months, and each one is a different season. I'm still in the spring season, and it's about, the 28 days, kind of the same as that Stardew Valley calendar. But I'm still, like, only halfway through the spring season. I just did my first fishing tournament, for example, which was fun. It's a very different fishing mechanic, but I had a good time playing it. Yeah, so I know that she is now, I think she built a museum or has been tasked to build a museum. So I wonder if that would be a place that would be something where you can collect.
Right.
But really the only thing I've found that you can keep track of is new like crafting recipes. I know that is one thing, one collectible that you can kind of track because, now you have something new that you can make.
Right. Yes, that makes sense.
So yeah, I don't know if there's anything like equivalent to what the museum is in Animal Crossing.
Okay. But I've always been very intrigued by how much very specific a story this game has. We've had other games that are like Animal Crossing, and they kind of tend to take it easy on a very set story. Because if you think about it, even Animal Crossing has a story about how you become the mayor by some interesting circumstances, you know. But on this one, you know, the town is Portia, and you're this specific character. You can pick your looks, but you're the character. So, what do you think of the story? Do you like it so far? How much of it do you think there is in terms of expanding the story here?
It's definitely interesting because there is a story, and for the most part, like, you talk to a lot of people and they'll tell you different things about the world. Like, I kind of found out this is kind of a post-apocalyptic world that we live in. So yeah, it's interesting, and I'm still digging into it, but there's like a religion that some people follow, some people don't. But it seems like there is some sort of like overarching story, and there are like a specific amount of cutscenes, for example, that will show you more of that. I haven't unlocked too many. Essentially, the ones I've had are like the basic intro cutscenes, but nothing else that's like really given me any more depth to the world. But I do know that it seems like there are people alive who saw the world when it was in like a dark place, and now it's a little bit better. But yeah, so I don't know too much about the story thus far outside of like, this is a post-apocalyptic land.
Okay, and does it ever feel like the story is kind of getting in the way of what you're here for? You know, an Animal Crossing type game, or is it like light enough that it's not really affecting you in that way?
I think it's not really affecting me too much. Because I think it is stuff like you have to, if you want to play for the story, it's something that you can go out and look for. But for the most part, like, you're pretty free to do anything. And so, yeah, I guess most of the goals are just like, essentially just learning how to live in this world and craft things. And so, yeah, I don't think the story has really gotten in the way of that. Like, it's just thrown me into it, and I've spent some days going to the mines and just getting a bunch of materials that I need, and other days just chopping up trees. And so, yeah, like, my life is pretty easy living.
Nice. And my last question is sort of related to that. Does the game sort of push you forward? Like, okay, you have some freedom, but in a couple of days you need to do this, or you need to build this, or have this much supplies, or can you pretty much take as much time as you want on a specific task before you move on to the main one?
I think the main story tasks don't really have time limits.
Oh, nice.
There are some jobs that you can take from people that will have a time limit. And then from there, you know, if you can complete a job, that's good. You're going to get some rewards for it. But yeah, for anything that's like a main big task, I have not seen a time limit on them. So yeah, I guess that point is good.
Yeah, for sure. Because sometimes I feel like Stardew Valley is one of those games that if you take too much time like exploring, or if you're not too sure what to do, or a little undecided, it could end up hurting you, you know. So you kind of have to plan ahead, or you may have to restart. But it sounds like on this one, you know, you can take your time and explore, and I think that's for the better.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can take your time with. Even with Stardew Valley, some of the main things, there is some time. But yeah, for the most part, like, everything, once you figure out where to look with everything, like, you'll notice a lot of stuff is listed. So it'll list like how long a job is expected to, how long you have to complete a task. So you're always in the know if you keep track of it and you pay attention. So, but like I said, there's so much to look at, and so there's a lot to pay attention to.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like I said, it's overwhelming when you start playing the game. Like, there's just so much to do. Like, I got this task to build a bridge, and I was like, wow, I have to do so much before I can actually do anything even remotely close to building this bridge.
Right.
So yeah, it's a process, but it's good. It's fun. I've quickly gotten very addicted to the game, and I'm already ready to spend the rest of my night playing it.
Nice. And like you mentioned, a very positive thing is that they are aware of the issues and they're gonna be working on them with updates. So if it's good enough to play now, even putting up with the load times, it's just gonna get better.
Yeah, yeah, it will. And one interesting thing is they're going to be adding a lot of content too. Like it's not just improving the game, like it's also giving you even more things to do.
Right. Oh, man.
So yeah, I can see myself being pretty busy between now and Animal Crossing. I expect myself to put in tons of hours into this game, probably even more than Stardew Valley at this point.
Oh, wow.
Just based on like already seeing how much there is to do and like how long it takes to make anything. Because even like I told you, like I built all these tools that can help me build other things. Those are upgradable. Like I can make those even stronger.
Oh.
So yeah, there's a lot. Definitely a lot.
Nice. Yeah. So it sounds like a really fun distraction from the weight of Animal Crossing, and that is in a way kind of related too.
Yeah, definitely. So what game have you been playing?
I actually have been playing a lot of little games. I wouldn't say that any of them is really related to Animal Crossing. I'm actually not playing a game that is like a life sim like that. I kind of prefer not to, because I kind of want to go clear from that type of genre when I start a new game. I guess maybe, I mean, I'm reaching a little bit, but Zelda is like it's a big game, and we consider Animal Crossing like a big game, and I'm actually stuck in Zelda. I need a chunk of solid time to get through a challenge that I'm in, so that's why I haven't picked it back up. But actually, I have been talking a lot about Amiibo Festival, and I would really like to play it again. Unfortunately, my Wii U is very picky when it comes to HDMI, the cables, and the port on the TV that it likes. I remember a couple of months ago, like 2 months ago, I tried to plug it in and it didn't work in my current TV. So I need to see if I can redo the setup, and I also need to find my charger for the gamepad, because I don't know why Nintendo, but they didn't let you play the game with just the gamepad. You have to play it on the TV. Even though you perfectly could, but they didn't let you. So I might try to fix those couple of things, because I really want to play Amiibo Festival, because it has the Animal Crossing content that we love, but it doesn't play anything like the mainline Animal Crossing game. So I feel like I would be okay playing that.
Yeah, I know. Amiibo Festival is a game that I sometimes want to revisit, just because I do like some aspects about that game a lot. For example, like the Desert Island Escape.
Yes.
I've never completed all the levels on that, so it's still something that I want to do.
Yeah,
and get back to.
Those were very challenging.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's fun. It's fun to also see like all the different villagers and play as a villager too.
Yes,
because that's something that you don't always get to do. But yeah, I guess it makes sense. It makes sense to try not to get your fill of life sims. I just think, I don't know, I feel like Animal Crossing is just so unique in that realm.
Yes.
Because like I was saying, my time at Porsche, like it's definitely your time at Porsche. Like you're going to spend so much time there. And it's not like Animal Crossing, I feel, is a good dose of like, once you've done what you wanted to do in a day, like you don't really have to play. I mean, chances are we will, yes. Especially like the first few months, like we're going to play a lot because we want to. But like after you get into the routine, like it's nice to just get your like little Animal Crossing break, and then from there, like you're good. You've had your fill. But Porsche and games like Stardew Valley really feed on that, like, let's just play one more day. So it gets you into that cycle where you're just playing more and more and more, which I'm not complaining right now because I love it. But after a while, I'm just like, I might be a little too addicted to this.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. So did you have anything else to say about any of these topics before we get into Haken's Villager Corner?
No, I think we can move on.
Awesome. Then let's get into Haken's Villager Corner. For those of you who don't know, every week we ask our patrons on Patreon a question and read their answers. And this week's question was, are you buying Animal Crossing Switch physically, digitally, or both? And so, Sergio, what do you think of this one?
I think it's a great question. I'm getting both. I'm pretty sure you are too. And then whichever one we can get our hands on first, that's the one we're going with.
That's right. I'm getting both. Because I just got to. I got to. It's very important to me to have both. I want to have the case, but not only the case. I also want to have the cartridge art, because I need to see what the art looks like on the cartridge. So both of those things are very important to me. But I'm digital, so I always play the game. And chances are we're going to be able to download the game at midnight Eastern time, which means 10 p.m. my time, I'm going to be playing Animal Crossing all night, because I'm going to take the day off.
Nice. Excellent.
For release day, and just play the whole weekend forever.
Yes. And, there's also a very likely possibility of a bundle. So whether it has digital or physical, we'll probably get that one too.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go ahead and go through these answers. And this week they're a little bit shorter. I posted this question very late, but also people were just answering shorter things. So you want to go back and forth? Do you want to start?
Yes, sounds good. And our first answer is by Emily with 1Y. And she says, physically, I have a collection of physical Animal Crossing games, so I would love to add it to that. Yes, and it's very nice to look at them all in a collection. I keep my games sorted by system, so I never really seen all the Animal Crossing ones together, but I know some people do, and it's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I do have all of the Animal Crossing games physically, so I might as well have this one too.
Yeah.
Grizzly Nina says, I'm so torn with this answer. I think I'll be buying digital just so I can get it immediately, but I will definitely miss having the box. Who knows? Maybe the themed Switch will already have it downloaded. So yeah, that's also a thing. Like often these consoles come with a digital copy for download.
Yes.
So yeah, that could be a thing that happens.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, like you and I, we're feeling the same. We don't want to miss out on this box, so we've got to get it.
Yeah, for sure. Our next answer is by Sarah, the Gigi Queen. And she says, both. I want to be able to play as soon as the game drops, so digitally will come first. Then when I can get to a GameStop, I'll pick up a physical copy as well, just to have it. Sarah, that is excellent. And we have been trying to find out if Sarah is probably one of she's gonna be playing it as early as 6 p.m. maybe if everything goes right.
Yeah, so in other words, she needs to let us go to her town so we can see the shops while they're open and see the interior. Because that's something I'm really interested in. Like, I want to see what these shops look like. So Sarah, let us into your town, please. Especially if she can play when the clock is actually 6. Because I'm not going to time travel. I'm not going to start my first day time traveling. Come on. That's a crime. So Rain says, physical copy. With so many games on the eShop, my Switch's memory can't handle the space.
Oh, yes.
I will say, surprisingly enough, I think Animal Crossing New Leaf, when it came out, was like only a gig. Like, it was less than 2 gigs to download that game. So I think it might have been less than a gig to download that game, because it fit in that like 2 gigabyte SD card that came with the console itself.
Right.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with the game being a lot smaller than you think it's going to be. And I mean, like, a lot smaller.
That's a good point. And I'm actually very curious about how big the save file is going to be, because I don't know how much Nintendo separates the content between the game file and the save file, because I know they're very cautious about item cloning or cheating. So I'm curious about that too.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting to hear.
The next answer is by Alex, or Coconut, and he says, digital, 100%. Ever since I had New Leaf in digital and seeing how Animal Crossing doesn't really have an ending, which is kind of how I base my physical or digital decisions, I just can't see getting Animal Crossing any other way. And that's always a huge benefit. We're going to need Animal Crossing wherever we are all the time. So digital it's easy bet right there.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just all digital, so I always get my games digital at
It's
this
super
point.
convenient, yeah.
Yeah. So Cyborg Jiro says, "Not sure. I probably would. I probably would be better off buying physical. I am running out of space on my SD card." So another person worried about their space on their game
Yes.
system. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think we're gonna be surprised with how small this file is. Nintendo's very good about like compressing their files and still making the games run and look great. So I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah, for sure. The next answer is by Quantrell Tobal. And they say, I don't have a Switch yet. I've been holding out for a Switch Pro or an Animal Crossing bundle. Animal Crossing is one of the few games that I always wanted digitally for the easy access at any time. And this has been a heavily discussed topic, waiting for a bundle, waiting for a Pro version, or waiting for a light Switch if you're more into the handheld side. It's very interesting. I think by the time all is said and done and we know what's coming and when, it's going to be the right time to make a decision. I think everything is going to be dated at the same time, hopefully.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I'd mostly wait for the AC bundle because I have a feeling
Oh, yes.
we might be getting them.
It's going to look amazing.
Yeah, I feel like we just want an AC Switch for sure. So Jeslyn says, ultimately, I will likely buy both. I think most of my games on Switch are digital copies since it's so convenient to buy from the eShop, but I definitely want a physical copy of AC Switch for the collection.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to stare at that on their shelf all the time? I know I do.
Yeah, for sure. And for anyone that is getting the physical version and they might be a little bit concerned, I don't think they should be. I guess the concern is, what if I want to play something else? But if you think about it, are we going to want to play something else?
Probably not.
So I think that's a non-issue.
Yeah. Also, I will say, I don't think it matters which you buy. The accounts, I think, save files are tied to Nintendo Switch accounts. So
Yes.
if you are planning on doing multiple towns, I don't think you'll have to buy 2 games to do that. I think you'll just buy the one, and then you can start another account as another me or another character, and then start a new town on your Switch. And I think you'll be able to do up to 8 towns. So yeah, I think that's a good thing for people. I think that's gonna save a lot of money because I know I bought 3 copies of Animal Crossing New Leaf just to have 3 towns.
Yeah. And I think it's safe to say for sure, as soon as the games are out, digital, physical, we're going to have a guide on how many times you can have, how to do them. Don't worry, we'll have you guys covered as what to do, what not to do, what you can do, everything. We're going to give you all the details.
Yeah, and this is going to be like the first time where it's a little bit easier to start a new town. Because like the GameCube, we could just get another memory card and start a new town. But yeah, it's gonna be cool for people to be able to do that. And yeah, like Sergio said, we're gonna make sure to get as much information about this as possible and help everybody.
Yes, for sure.
Because we're gonna keep this show going for a long time. So every episode's gonna be full of stuff that we're gonna talk about all the time.
I cannot wait.
Me neither. This is going to be the first time ever we're making an Animal Crossing podcast with an Animal Crossing game. That's a mainline game. Because technically we got Pocket Camp, and that was a new game, but it doesn't count. Cool. So thank you all so much for listening. If you want to be part of the conversation on all things Animal Crossing, join the Discord. I have a link in the description of this podcast. It's totally free to join. You don't have to be a patron, and if you do join, you can get Sergio and my friend codes on our 3DSs and all the other things, Pocket Camp and everything. If you do want to be a patron, visit patreon.com/ChewyPlaysNintendo for just $1. You can support our show, get tons of cool things, and you can see our current goals to improve the show and our content. We try to make it worth it because we really appreciate your support. And if you're watching or listening on YouTube, please leave a comment to let us know if you're buying Animal Crossing Switch physically, digitally, or both. And please leave a review of the show wherever you're listening. It helps the show gain some visibility and allows our community to grow. And once again, thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great week.
Goodbye, everybody.